Hi, Tim here. In this week's video, I'm going to be discussing how I train my Dream Team Realtor of what type of leads that I want them to send me off of the multiple listing service. If you recall, this is a continuation off of last week's video blog. Now, in last week's video blog, I discussed how to get a true superstar Dream Team Realtor that you can work with on a regular basis. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing, once I found that realtor, how I train them of what type of leads that I'm looking for. Now please note how I mentioned I train them of what type of leads I'm looking for. Now there's a lot of investors that are always looking for properties on the MLS system. And I know as a real estate investor, my favorite strategies are either wholesaling a house or rehabbing a house. In other words, I'm looking for properties that need a lot of repairs. So I must train them specifically of what type of properties that are on the MLS that I feel have the highest chances of me getting my offer accepted. Because as you know, if we're rehabbers or wholesalers, we need to be buying these properties at 40, 50, 60 cents on the dollar to be able to have a profit margin in there. So I'm looking for the type of leads that are out there, the properties that are for sale, that are going to yield me the highest chances of me getting my 50 or 60 cent dollar on the offer accepted. Okay, so I have two criteria, and only two criteria. What I want my realtor to do is I want them to be checking what they call the hot sheet. Every day, I want them to be very familiar with my target market where I'm looking to buy houses, and I want them to check the hot sheet on a daily basis of the new listings that come on the MLS that meet my two criteria. And here are my two criteria. So please write these down because they're very specific. And it must meet both of these criteria, not one or the other. It must meet both of them before I want them to even send me the lead. Because I don't want them filling up my inbox, my email, with a bunch of leads that I probably will never have a chance of getting my low offer accepted. So here are my two criteria that I discuss with my realtor. The first, when they're looking at the MLS system, the first thing is the house must be ugly. It must need a lot of repairs, and I mean a lot of repairs. The more repairs, the better to meet my criteria. And sometimes the realtors will ask me, and they'll say, Tim, what type of, when you say ugly, just how ugly? And here's my response to them. If the house is livable, it's probably not ugly enough to meet my criteria. Because I'm going to be making offers at 50, 60 cents on the dollar, so these properties are probably going to need to be pretty ugly for me to get that low offer accepted. So when they're looking at the photos that are on the MLS system, I want them to be looking at all the pictures to make sure that the house is very, very ugly, needs massive repairs. Okay? And that's usually in the range of $10, $20, $30, $50,000 of rehab that each property would need. So that's my first criteria, is the house must be ugly. Now my second criteria, and as I mentioned, it must meet both criteria, is the price of the house. I want them to be looking at the list price of the house, and it must be at least 75% or less than what they know that that neighborhood sells for. So for instance, if they're out looking at properties at 123 Main Street, for instance, and they know that 123 Main Street is in a neighborhood of $100,000 houses. Well, my house is going to be ugly, but when they're looking at the list price, the seller must not be asking more than $75,000 for that property, and it must be ugly before I want the realtor to even send the lead over to me. Because in other words, the true motivation of the seller is based in their asking price. You know, there's so many people that go looking on the MLS for bank-owned properties or foreclosures. Just because it's bank-owned or foreclosed doesn't mean that it's a motivated seller. For instance, if it's a $100,000 neighborhood and they're asking $95,000 for the house, well, that asking price, $95,000 on a $100,000 neighborhood, that tells me that they're just not motivated enough. I'm not going to go waste my time putting in an offer of $50,000, $60,000 on a house when they're asking $95,000 for it. Even if it's bank owned, the sales price, the listing price, truly shows what the motivation is. Just because it's bank owned or not really doesn't say anything to me. So it must be reflected in their asking price before I'm going to utilize my time to go look at the property. So those are my two rules, is the house must be ugly, uninhabitable in its present condition, and the seller must be motivated. The asking price that's listed on the MLS must be at least 75% or less than what that realtor knows that that neighborhood sells for regularly. So those are my two criteria. Now notice that I didn't mention anything about I want the realtor to be out there looking for bank owned. I don't care if it's bank owned or not. I don't care if it's the homeowner that's listed it, as long as it meets my two criteria. It must be ugly, and the sales price must be 75% or less than what the neighborhood sells for. Now, on a daily basis, when my realtor is looking at these leads, they're going to be, if they find one that meets both criteria, they're going to email it over to me. And then I am going to confirm that I agree with them. I'm going to look at the photos on the MLS that they sent me in the email. I'm going to see if I agree that it's ugly enough. And then I'm also going to look up the comps, the comparable sales, and I want to make sure that it's priced at 75% or less. If it meets both those criteria, the realtor sends it to me, I've researched it, and I agree with them, I'm going to have them put that on our list. See, I have a standing appointment with my realtor. For me, it's every Wednesday. So please write this down because this is a key part of it. Every Wednesday, I have a standing appointment with my realtor every Wednesday at 10 o'clock that we go look at between 8 and 12 houses. So through the week, my realtor's sending me these leads that came up on the hot sheet. If I agree with them, I tell them to put it on our Wednesday parade of homes is what I call it. And then throughout the week, we'll probably accumulate 8 to 12 properties that we're going to go view on Wednesday. Now on Wednesday, I'll go travel around with my realtor. We'll look at all 8 to 12 of these houses that met the two criteria. And then afterwards, when we view the houses, I'm estimating the repairs, I'm doing the comps. And then after our Wednesday appointment, we looked at all 10 houses, say, I would then take my realtor out to lunch. While we're out to lunch, my realtor will be writing up all cash offers on each one of the properties that I'm interested in. And if I look at 12 or 10 properties on a Wednesday, I'm probably going to make offers on 90% of those. Probably 10 out of 12, I'll make an all cash offer. So before I go do all this process, I make sure that I have a private lender in place. So if I get one of my offers accepted off the MLS, that I'm going to be able to pay cash and actually buy this house. So I make sure I have my funding in place ahead of time. So while we're at lunch, we write up all the offers and we submit them over to the bank. So I'm usually making about 8 to 10 offers a week through my realtor. So that's almost like 40 offers a month. And that's the power of this. I put 40 offers in this month. Next month, we'll put in another 40 offers. And then I have my realtor go back and resubmit the offers at the same exact price on any of the properties from the previous month that did not get accepted. And we'll just do this month in and month out. So I'm building a pipeline of offers made through my Dream Team Realtor. And then my realtor, because they're a superstar, they follow up on the offers from the previous months. So after 3 or 4 months, I might have 100 offers out there in the pipeline. Now the true power of dealing with realtors is I find that most of my offers get rejected in the first month because my offer is so low. But we resubmit the same offer next month, it may get rejected again. But what I find is usually in the 3rd or 4th month from building up this pipeline, I start getting the offers accepted that I made 90 to 120 days ago. So it's about the power of the follow-up is really the key when you're making offers on the MLS. Now, the other key point is some people say, Tim, when you're putting offers in at 10 offers a week, how do you write out an earnest money deposit on each one of those properties that you're writing up an offer for at lunch? And the key is I do not. I do not write up an earnest money check for each one of these offers because I know most of them are going to get declined. They're never going to get accepted. So I'm not going to have a bunch of $500 earnest money deposit checks floating around out there every week from 10 offers a week. So what I do is in the offer, my realtor writes that the earnest money deposit will be $500 and it will be payable 24 hours after acceptance of the offer. So I'm not making any earnest money deposit at the time that I submit the offer. It's only if one of them gets accepted, then within 24 hours, I'll meet my realtor and then I will write out a check for $500 for the earnest money deposit. That way I can have 40 this month, 40 next month, 40 the month after, and I'm not doing a lot with the earnest money deposits unless one of them gets accepted. So to recap, you're going to find a dream team superstar realtor, which I discussed in my last week's video blog, and then you're going to train them of my ugly rule. The house must be ugly for them to send me the lead, and it must meet my 75% rule. That seller must be motivated. I don't care if it's bank owned or if it's not bank owned, if it's a foreclosure, if it's not a foreclosure. That's not one of my rules. So I don't even want them searching for bank owned properties. I only want them searching for ugly houses that meet the 75% rule. Doesn't matter who the seller is, whether it's a bank or not. Then they send me over the lead. If I agree with them, we put it on the list for my Wednesday standing appointment. Then we go out and look at 8 to 12 houses. We then go to lunch. I put in 10 offers this week on average. Next week I'll do the same, the week after I'll do the same, and then we follow up on any of the rejected offers every 30 days thereafter, forever. I just keep building my pipeline, and you watch what happens. In the second, third, fourth month, you'll start getting offers accepted that you put in 90 to 120 days ago. And this is the difference between true real estate investors that have a system of buying houses. They don't just put an offer in one time and then forget about it if it gets declined. I follow up, follow up, follow up, and follow up, resubmitting the same offer, and you watch what happens of how many you get accepted 90 to 120 days ago at the very same price that the seller rejected 2 or 3 times before. So I hope this video helps of how to train your realtor, and next week come back and we'll have another question from a student. See ya.